David. Oh,
Can you hear me?
Nia, I can hear you. You
All right,
dirty,
awesome.
dirty slut. We're recording. Sorry for the delays, man. Back and forth.
Oh, it's
But,
no problem, man.
but I just got another hoodie.
Oop, is my internet cutting out?
No. Can you see me? I can see you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it. Just cut out for a second.
I don't know which one it is. Oh, fuck yeah. I got this. I made this one. So the early particle accelerators, I forget how they did them, but it was some weird thing. It was like X-ray crystallography. I think they used oil.
Jack Parsons summoning a demon.
No. It kind of, but it was like they used. I mean, I'm talking like the 1920s. They took they put like a thin film of oil on some metal, and then they like shot beams of light through it, and somehow they tracked particles on it in this like old timey way. But if you ever see images of them, you'll probably recognize them. They're these weird kind of like spindly. They almost look like Mandelbrot fractals. And I took some, and they're all black and white. And I took some high res images of them. And oh wait, these are sweatpants. Whoops. But yeah, I put them on I put it over like blue, like a blue background, and turned it gold. And it's these are early images of particle accelerator experiments. I'm not sure why I did those, but then
Hey, man, it sounds badass.
and then not that we're doing a fucking show and tell, but I guess we are. I made this one 2 summers ago for a guy who never bought it. He paid me like $100 to do the design and then never followed up with it. But it was I took 3 cherubs, some like old Renaissance painting of these cherubs. You know, one's playing like the guitar, but I took them all, and I was just getting into Post Malone and Mac Miller at the time, so I took high res scans of Mac Miller and Post Malone's tattoos, and I superimposed them all over the cherubs.
That'll get the zoomers. That'll really get the zoomers. Yeah.
It's these cherubs with like face tattoos and sleeves.
So one of the things in you would love this about 40K because 40K has cherubs in them.
Yeah.
And essentially because AI is outlawed, any kind of like robotic being has to be a human that's basically been lobotomized and turned into what they call a servitor. Okay. So they lobotomize some, human, some poor bastard somewhere, and they turn them into a servitor. And just because, 40K has a lot of like biblical references and stuff, you'll just have these freaking, dead baby cherubs and everything with like a cyborg guy and shit, flying around and
fuck yeah. Here's the cherub, man. It's a baby with I think I gave him Post Malone's "Always Tired" tattoo on the face. He's playing.
Dude,
he's playing a guitar.
That is the most zoomer shit.
I know. He's smoking a stove, got hand tats, and but there's like other little ones on the sleeve and shit. But if you like zoom in on them, they're all actually like tattoos of like famous, like it's like Post Malone, Mac Miller, I think Lil Peep. I just took all the guys with like the kind of the well-known tats and covered these guys. So wasn't sure how it was going to come out on a sweatshirt. I don't really care. I'm digging it. So
it's one of those things that it's so unique. It's like from a distance you wouldn't even be quite sure what you're looking at, and then it's like
exactly
you get in there and yeah. I mean, as a 40K fan, I love the whole cherub thing. Yeah, before we start, I'm gonna make sure my audio isn't streaming in there because I'm noticing a little bit of instability. So hopefully that fixes it.
Good. You're good.
Right back.
So everybody listen, this is my buddy David O'Neill. We've done a couple episodes now about the first one was Senior Executive Service, the SES, which I didn't know about, and the second one we did was about Bitcoin and Bolivia and lithium and shit. And David's back now, but yeah. And I had to keep pushing it back today. I'm trying to find a fucking apartment to go further do my TPC Free America Radio, which,
right.
If censorship keeps going this way, man, maybe I'll go fucking shack up with Snowden and go do it from the Soviet Union or from Russia.
Funny you mentioned that. Funny you
hell
mentioned
yeah,
that.
you got permanent record.
Hell yeah. I used to, before I kept my hurricane shutters, mostly sealed most of the time, I used to just leave this in my door, in my windowsill for the Jehovah's Witnesses and whatnot to keep knocking on my door. And
dude, that's
try to get the word out some way.
That's a great book. Speaking of Ed Snowden, I did try to get him on. I never got a response. But yesterday or 2 days ago, I did email the Kremlin and asked if Mr. V. Putin would like to come on my podcast.
Right.
Well, I haven't gotten a response yet, but who knows?
That one way to go about it. I know the three things I want to talk about today with you, mainly touching up on Claire's point about the wifeless men in China and how the one child policy has developed, all that. One of the things it's done is it's massively exploded the demand for human trafficking throughout Southeast Asia. It's very well documented, just underreported on for obvious reasons. Our one-sided media really doesn't like to talk about the war crimes of the Maoists. Maybe they'll talk about Cuomo a little bit. Maybe if Cuomo was doing it, they'd pick up on it. And then the two other things, I know we've already talked a little bit about fishing fleet, soft power diplomacy and whatnot. And we'll go into that. But one of the things, because I like to look at things from psychology first and then work our way back, is the concept of guanji, which kind of translates to like a business, what we would call like a business relationship. But, we kind of think about it backwards from how they do. Here in the West, if you and I wanted to start a company, right, or we wanted to go into business, right, we're not going to be hanging out acting like best friends first, because we know the dangers there. We're going to be thinking, okay, let's get our lawyers involved. Let's get the contracts signed. Let's make sure our I's are dotted, our T's are crossed, and everything's good to go. And then we might go out and, we might have some drinks, we might party, we might go fishing and develop a personal relationship. Well, the Chinese work at it completely backwards. Guanji, their idea of building that relationship, going back to unrestricted warfare, right? I don't want to threaten you, because I know if I threaten you, you're going to call Dr. Dale. Dr. Dale's going to diagnose me with COVID. Next thing you know, I'm being put on the ventilator, right? Bad situation. The only way I can win is by making sure you never call Dale. Well, shrink that down to the business level, right? The last time I want to negotiate with you is when you've been up all night, you're thinking about how we're going into negotiations. You're thinking about what you don't want to concede. You're thinking about what you want to get out of me. You're going over all your strategy. And next thing you know, you're going to be there. You're going to have your lawyer who's, for all intents and purposes, that's Dale. I don't want him there either, watching your back. Ideally, from the Chinese mindset, we already have an understanding before we get to that point. And my goal is to make it so you and your family, you and your lawyer's family are so well paid off and so well taken care of that you never want to call Dale, right? That's basically the Chinese unrestricted warfare mentality.
How do you spell that?
It's about how can we develop those relationships? Guanji, Guanxi, I believe.
Okay. I wasn't sure. At first, I thought you were saying 1G, like 5G, like 1G. I'm retarded.
Yeah.
No.
Guanji.
Okay, so their whole thing is is their whole thing that they get to know each other first and they won't want to do it, or is it the whole thing you line the pockets so well that they won't want to do it? And sorry if I'm interrupting you. I think we've got like a 2-second delay.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I think the internet's a little bit slow today. But, it's kind of a little bit of both. This is why Chinese intelligence and Chinese business is so effective at elite captures. The fact that the average Chinese businessman is thinking more like an intelligence officer than the average intelligence officer and foreign policy elite in our own country. They're thinking about, how do I get you out on the fishing boat first? How do I get us out, drinking first? How do I get us out at the strip club first? To build up that relationship. We're two married men. We're going out to the strip club because I know you're not going to snitch on me because you'd be snitching on yourself. That's Guanxi. We're in bed together. That's what they're trying to establish before you even get to the negotiating table. So that way it's just a formality. We already have the understanding. We're just trying to make it clean at that point, because, if you go back to China has all these, unmarried men that need wives, and we got to put them out somewhere. Well, guess what? It's a lot cheaper for me to elevate your entire family and your cabinet's entire family to another tax bracket than it is for me to open a business there and raise your entire people to a new tax bracket, right? I don't want to do that. And so that's how the Chinese are so effective at, say, going into a country and, say, setting up a Chinese colony, right? Because then, if I'm paying you off so well that you don't care that I'm not hiring your people and helping them out, that's how I get those people in there and I get my foot in the door, right? And that goes right into, fishing fleet policy. Let's say you're running a country somewhere and I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to leverage you, right? Once again, going back, I can't threaten you with the military. I can't threaten you in any way that's going to make you call Dale. I've already lost if you call Dale, right? So what do I have to do? Well, it's a fishing fleet, right? If some fishing fleet's going to come in, and it would be a shame if your fishery got bottom trawled, right? And a bunch of, Chinese fishermen peasants started essentially starting up, as we talked before, like an illegal wood smuggling operation, whatnot. That would be unfortunate. And then you would call me up and you'd go, hey, man, what about these fishing fleets? That's kind of fucked up, man. Like, you going to do something about this? And of course, my response at that point would be like, well, it's so far away. I can't really regulate, Chinese fishermen in your waters because it's so far away. But maybe if I hooked you up with my Belt and Road port salesman, right? And we could work out like a payment plan of how you could get a port. And then once the port's there, we could open up a regulation office, and then I'd have people there, and we could work on regulating, the fishing fleets. And once I've got that foot in the door and I'm building a little Chinese colony port there, well, now all of a sudden I'm not really worried about, trying to wreck your fisheries and do a little, wood smuggling. That was just to, to lean on you a little bit to get you to come to me, right? That's just how we're getting this started. Now we can start talking about, now I can figure out who's in your cabinet that I got to buy off. How can I get the rest of the people paid off operations to drug smuggling and people trafficking? Last year there was a report sent to Congress. I believe it was human trafficking in the seafood supply chain, I think was the name of the report to Congress. But it's basically talking about how a lot of these fishing fleets, for example, as they come in, they're using, impressment, setting up these contracts, getting people onto these boats. And, what other way what's the best way to do human trafficking? Well, if you have this massive fleet of fishing boats that could cause a diplomatic incident, if you press on them too much, and you try to search these boats, well, the ones that are actually carrying out shady activity, those are going to be the better taken care of ships. They're going to get away faster. And then you have this, disposable fleet of other ships are going to try to blockade and protect the other ships to get away. And hell, if they have to sink one of those boats to cause an incident, if I can tie down your Coast Guard by sinking a couple fishing boats. Go ahead.
Your internet's getting really choppy, just FYI.
All right. Yeah. I was worried about that today. It seems a little bit less stable.
Yeah.
But if there's anything I, chopped up, missed out, let me know, and I'll come back to that.
If I can, good. Keep going.
So if, I sink a couple fishing boats or whatever, and all of a sudden you have to respond to, rescuing a bunch of Chinese fishermen or whatever, I can get those other boats out away. And, that's one way that you can protect, say, your smuggling operation or your illicit operations. And when you think about that kind of mindset from the business aspect of how the average Chinese businessman is thinking more like an intelligence asset, well, then think about the fact that, how liquid it is. I know we talked about this briefly before, how easy it is for China to put intelligence into a company. Okay. Like we know, for example, if we're looking at a US embassy somewhere, we know it's looking after United States political interests in the region. And so we don't know who the CIA officers are, but we know they exist there. We know there's some intelligence officers that are working there. Well, the same way, if we see a Chinese business running somewhere, we know there are CCP officials somewhere in that business. There has to be, in order to do business with China. You got to have those officials. And if that business is in any way doing something that the Chinese consider strategically relevant, well, guess what? One of those CCP officials is probably an intelligence officer. And what's the intelligence officer doing? Well, he's looking for Hunter. Where's Hunter, right? if I'm trying to get if I'm the Chinese businessman, right, and I'm trying to get you out on a fishing boat, we're sipping Tsingtao, right, I'm trying butter you up and making deals with you while we're half tipsy and everything, and you're not thinking about the strategy, you're not thinking all business. That's where I'm trying to get you. But let's say you only bring your family on that fishing trip that have their shit together, right? And I'm just kind of stuck with that. Well, the intel officer is like, well, Tommy, he has a son named Hunter, and Hunter likes to party, right? That's the kind of avenue that they're always looking for. And that's why the Chinese elite capture strategy is so effective, is because essentially every Chinese business is running like an intelligence agency. And if it ever needs to be an intelligence agency, they already have the framework to backdoor a bunch of intelligence officers in as CCP officials. And so that's how we see Chinese fishing boat diplomacy going throughout, Southeast Asia, off the coast of Africa. It's even happening in South America. And, I remember at one point off the coast of Argentina, they had a boat that was in such poor condition. It was trying to make a turn to get away from an inspection. And I think it capsized or broke apart. Once again, all of a sudden, if you're trying to catch a smuggler or whatever, and you have a bunch of Chinese fishermen that can't swim very well in the water, what are you going to do? Are you going to risk a diplomatic incident, going after the smugglers, or and let a bunch of Chinese fishermen drown? Or are you going to drop what you're doing and you're going to go rescue all the Chinese fishermen, right? So it kind of plays out. And that's how Chinese soft power can really lean on countries. And guess what? If you take a Chinese fishing fleet and you go into Mozambique, or you go into a potential conflict zone and you bottom trawl out their fisheries and you completely destroy the fishing community there, well, now you have a bunch of pissed off young men that they can't make a living doing the most basic line of work that you can never take from them, short of really fucking things over for them. And they could join an insurgency. They might decide to make your country less stable. So that's the kind of power plays that the Chinese are thinking about when they're leveraging a fishing fleet. And we're just thinking of it as a bunch of just fishing boats, but really there's so much more going on, and there's so much more pressure that we're just not seeing, because at the end of the day, China, when we summarize unrestricted warfare and we break it down to the tiniest summary, their core strategic interest is making sure we never make it look like an attack. I'm never going to make it look like I'm pushing you, pressing you, because I know if you call Dale, I've already lost. And that's basically how it breaks down.
So it kind of seems like it's not that I want this to be true, but let's try to put aside our egos and our nationalism. Let's just try to look at it objectively. Does China have a superior system? Is it just a matter of time until they take over? Are they are they the ape that learned? Are they just the new thing?
I wouldn't say that they have a superior system. I would say that they have a superior mindset for dealing with this. The system can break down pretty easily once you shine light on it and once you put it under heavy scrutiny. The system does well when it's making sure you're not seeing it. When it's just some little fishing stuff in the third world, America, on a greater level, we're not paying attention to it. As if China said, hey, we're building an aircraft carrier and we're going to have our aircraft carrier do freedom of navigation somewhere out in blue water rather than the green water. That's the kind of mindset that they're trying to avoid, is trying to make us think of it like a military engagement or anything like that. And that's just why they're so effective, is because at the end of the day, and Guanxi isn't, it's not an exclusively Chinese concept. You go to Ukraine, you go to Romania, you go to any country that has had a system of oppression for so long that you instinctively know it's about greasing the wheels. It's not about what it's who you know. And so it's just that the Chinese are so, they've been dealing with that for so long that they are thinking about that. They're, when they're trying to get you out on the fishing boat, or they're trying to get you out to the strip club and they're trying to negotiate with you out there, they're trying to make you feel, comfortable, when really that's the negotiating phase. For them, that's mindset of, they're in the mindset of, hey, I've got the lawyer, I've got the strategy, I'm trying to figure out what your vices are, I'm trying to figure out, how I can butter your bread in a way that'll get you to lean this way. So before we even get to the negotiating room, while in the West, it's just that mindset of, this is fair play. It kind of goes back to the, how many Westerners really know how to haggle anymore, right? when you look at like the foreign policy elite, these academics that, if they've been to a third world country, they've probably been in the, the 5-star hotel. A lot of these people have never had to haggle before in their lives. And the Chinese are 100% aware of that. That's, when you think about like the ethical eunuch and how they like to set up the emperor as this person that needs to be taken care of, the long fingernails so that they can't wipe their own asshole kind of thing. They're kind of that mindset where, hey, if we can, really take care of this elite class of academics that don't know how to haggle, we can keep them in a situation where they never feel like they have to haggle. If they're out on a boat having some drinks or whatever, or they're, partying with you and that's where the deals are being made, they're never going to be in that adversarial mindset that you and I would be in. If we sit down at a boardroom somewhere and we've got our lawyers there, that's like a little adversarial engagement. Yeah, we're not, getting ready to fight and go to blows or anything, but what you wanted a deal. I know what I wanted a deal. I know what I'd like to get you to concede to. We all know what we want and we're going to be pushing for it. And the entire Chinese mindset is, how do we make sure you never even get to that mindset? How do we make sure that you never even feel this in engagement? We want you to feel comfortable. We want your guard down. And, we want it to be, friendship first, and then everything else is just a formality. Friendship, Guanji, right? And that's essentially what it comes down to. It's not a superior system. It's just a superior mindset because we're not thinking in the same way they do. We're coming at everything completely backwards.
Okay. So instead of doing the weigh-in at a UFC and Joe Rogan's there at the microphone and we're getting up in each other's face and, putting heads against each other, instead you're coming up to me and you're just, instead it's like we're both in sweatpants playing Xbox and you're just talking to me and talking to me and talking to me. I'm not in this whole, like, I'm dehydrated. I'm in my briefs. I've got my gloves on. It's you're meeting Mike Tyson. You're meeting Mike Tyson on an Xbox server instead of in the ring. Okay.
Exactly. I don't want and that's unrestricted warfare. You don't want to fight them in the ring where they're ready for it. You want
because they know that they
off guard the whole time.
They still know that they can't take us. It's going to be interesting if in 50 years we see them drop the whole facade of Wanji and economic warfare and not asking the way to the Emperor's Cauldron. If all of a sudden they drop the facade, if they build up.
Well, they already have.
You think they have?
They're already doing that. When we look at the recent diplomatic meeting with Blinken and whatnot, what did it translate that they were saying? That we do not believe that America has the qualification to speak from a position of strength. They're already at that mindset where it's like, guess what? Most of the people running the show anymore are, these purple-haired academic kids that have never had to haggle for anything in their life. The older folks that are there that know what's up, they're either retired or they're so well taken care of that, it's cheaper for the Chinese to, make things, really nice for that whole class of people than it is to uplift the entire American people, right? Goes right back to that. How do we get that Chinese colony of workers? And how do we make you feel so well taken care of that you will sell your country out without calling Dale? And if you ever think about calling Dale, well, how do I make Dale feel so comfortable that he would rather me let in a bunch of Chinese and set up a Chinese colony than have to, say, pay and hire a bunch of American locals? That's what it always kind of comes back to. It's that same mindset. It just kind of depends on what level of the dial you're at.
Motherfucker. David, keep talking. I got to go pee. I drank a ton of water before this podcast.
All right. Yeah. So some of the things that we'll just talk about, go back into the briefly how the empty branches, your wifeless men that will never have a chance of finding a wife in China, how that fuels the essentially the human trafficking and how we're going to see probably fishing boat diplomacy fuel that. It's very well documented when we look at, Myanmar, Burma is a really good example where you'll see a lot of cases of this and keep in mind that when it comes to human trafficking, the worst cases are the ones that we don't hear about. A lot of times the most common way that these women get recruited, obviously they're tricked thinking, hey, this, I'm going to get a job. It'll be in hospitality or whatever. I'll be working at a hotel or a restaurant. And then next thing you know, they're being locked into some Chinese family home. And, if they're really lucky, the family will be like, hey, all we want is like a kid. We want you to give us, a kid, because if you're in China, right, you don't get a retirement home. You don't get a nursing home. Your retirement plan is your kids taking care of you in your old age. So for them, they view it as, we have to procreate, we have to have a next generation no matter what. And they'll tell the girls, hey, if you give us a kid, we'll let you go. Sometimes that actually happens. There are documented cases of girls from Burma, Myanmar, going back, linking back up with their families. Obviously, these are like the best case scenarios. A lot of this, it doesn't end up that way, and you just don't even hear about it. A lot, and as I said before, it's heavily documented, but a lot of this has been overshadowed now by the industrial, rape camps, as I like to call them, in Xinjiang, which translates to new territories in East Turkmenistan, where they're doing this to the Uyghurs. And we all hear about this now, where they're putting all the Uyghurs into camps. They separate the men, they bring in people, they hold the girls down, they rape the girls, and it's a big fucking mess over there. Absolutely tragedy. But this is also happening on the eastern side too, where they're bringing in these women across the border, whether they're being tricked there. Some of them are being sold into slavery by their own families. That's even a nastier case, in which case, even if the girl breaks free and they go back, it's kind of like, what you want to do? You want to go back to the family that sold you into slavery in the first place. So it's a really nasty subject to go into over there, and it's just getting more difficult to deal with because not a lot of people really want to talk about it. Obviously, YouTube algorithms don't like it when you talk about any kind of trafficking, and they'll try to paint you with some kind of conspiracy theory about deep underground tunnels and stuff like that. But we can easily go on academia.edu. We can easily go and look at humanitarian studies of this happening. Find a mainstream news outlet that will report on it. That's the challenge.
Yeah, I remember I tried to run an advertisement on Facebook last fall. I had on Mitzi Purdue, who runs WTF.org, Witness Fight Against Human Trafficking. And I tried to run an ad on it, and it said I couldn't run it because it was too political. We didn't say, I don't think we said Biden or Trump's name during the whole thing.
Apparently that's a political issue.
Which is, man, if it's a political issue, I'd like to know
the side that wants to tear down statue.
Yeah, which side's for it? And
the side that wants to tear down all these statues because of slavery, all of a sudden they don't want to talk about slavery because it's a political issue. It's like, YouTube took a very strange U-turn right around the states' rights somewhere in there.
Yeah. So they said Facebook said I couldn't put up this ad because it was too political. So instead, what I did was I screenshotted their message saying that this ad was too political, and I posted the screenshot, and I ran an ad on the screenshot and said, "Can I run an ad on this image of you telling me 30? I mean, it normally takes 12 to 24 hours to get an ad approved. My new ad, can I post a screenshot of you guys saying that human trafficking is too political?" I tried to run an ad on that. I shit you not, in under 5 minutes. They didn't acknowledge my new ad, but they went back to the human trafficking one and said, yeah, sure, send that one right through. Greenlit it, went right through. And I was just like, man, that's, part of me was happy because I won, but another part of me was like,
it's so fucking dirty, right?
I was just like, I was in the freezer at the liquor store stocking shelves, and even in there, I got the chills. I was like, I shouldn't be able to play hardball like that. That's fucked up.
Yeah, it's absolutely disgusting how much these people are willing to do, to protect and cover up for people that are doing things. I mean, hell, they were going to give Cuomo an Emmy, but fortunately, he didn't assault enough women for it to become a statistic. It's still a tragedy, so they'll hang him for it.
That's when people say I'm OCD about putting my podcast on external hard drives wrapped in fireproof, waterproof, EMP-proof bags inside of a safe. A year ago, quarantine's been going on for a year. If 13 months ago you had said that you wouldn't be able to go to church because the government said so, you'd say, what are you smoking? So you know what? I think it's only going to be a number of years before. Why do you need an external hard drive that's not connected to the internet? What do you have to hide? Why do you need, just like a 30 round magazine? Why do you need 100 terabytes of storage?
Why do you have a VPN, Tommy?
What civilian needs 100 terabytes of storage? What are you doing? Yeah. I think we limit to citizens to 1 gigabyte a year of external storage. Because other than that, what do you need off the internet? What are you hiding? That's why I don't trust these motherfuckers at all. It might be a year, it might be 10 years. That's why I've built my own NORAD, and that's why there are external locations as well that won't be named. So if mine gets taken out, the podcast will endure.
Yeah, it's about protecting the library first, because we can always find a platform for it.
Always find a
And, you know,
platform.
it's an incredibly disturbing subject, because, you know, why are our policymakers and our elite so comfortable with just slow walking Chinese policy onto us? Well, it's because for decades now, Guanxi, baby, you know, the wheels are getting greased. We're figuring out who needs to grease.
So can this be solved militarily? Like, are we? Do you think we're ever? Do you think there's some just people in the Pentagon that at some point are just looking at this thing that are smarter than you and I, that have more intel than you and I, and they're going, "Hey, it's going to be another 10 or 20 years, but the Chinese are slowly taking over this country. Do we just do what needs to be done, and do they just go in and just abolish China, or has mutually assured destruction ensured that no nation can ever do that?"
Well, I think it actually, you know, no matter what, nobody wants to drop the bomb. No matter how much we escalate things on a small level, no one wants to go straight to strategic weapons. Do I think that things can be solved with a military solution? I would say half yes and half no, because the solution is obviously something that the military would never want to put its name to. But remember, at the end of the day, the entire doctrine of unrestricted warfare, the entire doctrine exists is because I know at the end of the day, you call Dale, right? I'm dead. Right. So we're trying to avoid that. So the deterrent factor right there is, well, what happens if examples get made?
So what if I just
exactly?
So if I'm examining them and I'm going, all David wants is for us to not call Dale. Instead of playing his game, why don't we just call Dale?
Yeah, so that's essentially the solution. That as soon as a couple, you know, what does, you know, the entire doctrine for? It's going right up to the line. And when you know that you're actually about to experience blowback, unlike Americans, the Chinese actually back off when they suspect blowback is happening. Americans, we just double down and it blows up in their face. And it's like, fuck it. You know, we'll get another budget. We'll do it again next year. But, you know, at the end of the day, if a couple examples get made and all of a sudden, you know, the Chinese experience real blowback, suddenly they're going to go, well, you know what? Put that one on the back burner. We're going to go find out where Dale isn't, and we're going to go fuck around there.
Now, is that what we saw with Trump? And is that what was Trump their blowback? Did they get blowback?
And, definitely.
And did they come back with a slithery hand? Did they come back with COVID? We can still say that on YouTube.
100%. Yeah. You know, you know, I'm not going to say anything that, you know, about specific designs of how that could have happened, but at the, you know, keep it YouTube safe. But yeah, Trump was 100%.
It was designed in the Wuhan virology lab.
You know, whether yeah, you know, maybe binary.
Absolutely. No, it was 100% yes. No binary. That's what it was. It's biological warfare. You don't have to say it. I will.
Right.
But
yeah, you know, you know, you can say it, and I'll just say, you know, there's a book. I saw Joe Teddy's reading it now, Unrestricted Warfare. I highly recommend everyone get one. Great book. But at the end of the day, that's what it was. There was the Trump coming into power, and for the Chinese, this was the first time they had ever experienced real blowback for what they've been doing. And whether the average American understood instinctively or not, that's, you know, that's why you got behind someone like Trump. We understand whether it's unrestricted warfare and Chinese intelligence activity, elite capture strategies or not. You understand they're being sold out to the Chinese, and you want someone that's going to stand up to them. And, you know, the only issue is that Trump didn't have an intuitive understanding of just how well elite capture strategy has played out in the United States intelligence community. And that's essentially why they were able to pull something so dirty in front of the entire American people to get someone in that, you know, the Chinese establishment controls, the compromised intel establishment controls. And, you know, at the end of the day, they're willing to, you know, despite the whole Hunter Biden and everything, they'd rather have someone that they control in there rather than having Trump in there, because at the end of the day, Guanxi, you know, for decades now, the Chinese have been figuring out, well, guess what? If we study, the Americans aren't going to study their own plum book. The Americans aren't going to study who's the senior executive services. The Americans aren't going to study who makes that. But if we do it and we butter their bread, we don't have to butter America's bread. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that's essentially what it comes down to.
No, it's a brilliant tactic. You're right. You know, the American way is you only butter the bread of the person you want to do business with. You know, I come to David and I'm like, David, come on my podcast. Fuck everybody else. I'll give you $100. And that's kind of been the American tactic forever. And more often than not, you find someone that's like, yeah, your podcast sounds cool and I could use $100, man, but I'm fucking over my family and friends. And what you're saying is okay, just butter David and butter up his brothers and sisters and parents, And then, that's enough that they're all like, yeah, fuck it. Yeah, we're good. Don't worry about everybody else. Originally you're like, you're going to screw over my parents and you're going to screw over my whole
It's cheaper in the
hometown.
long run.
It is. No, and it's brilliant. You have to respect it for what it is. However, I saw an article last night and I had never heard of the term until you told it to me, was the blob, BLOB, which, if I can recall correctly, that is the senior executive service / deep state / unelected elite / that's it, right? Same thing.
Yeah,
correct?
it's the it's going back to the Jesuits who would educate the Habsburgs, understanding that if you control, and that's where Obama started to term what we call the blob is because obviously he came in with kind of this leftist populist message, right? He's coming in, hope, change, and all this crap. Regardless of whether or not he actually means it, he gets surrounded by the blob, and the blob makes sure that the only thing he hears, or whether it's opinions from the right or the left, it's opinions that the blob approves from. So you're never going to go outside that Hegelian dialectic. And that is exactly what the senior executive service exists to do. Going back to President Carter, is how do we create this blob that can control the policy and can create, it's meant to be an echo chamber, essentially.
What does Hegelian dialectic mean?
Okay, so basically going back to it, what I was saying on the last podcast, okay, you have your, it's your controlled opposition and making sure that, you have two choices and both those choices are ones you like. So going back to whether it's here or in South America, right, we're going to bring in this rhino, this person that says that they're right wing, but they're really going to give you socialism light, and their job is to be the good cop, to be the gentle hand and everything, but to give you just enough socialism so that the youth want more and that the older folks aren't happy with that. And so when you're no longer happy with the right hand here, well, the left hand path comes in, and the left hand path is full on communism, full on red terror. And the entire purpose of that is to just get you so scared, to get you so reactionary to that you either go with them full down the road to communism, or you happily welcome back your controlled opposition, your Republican rhino, or whoever that may be in your country. So the idea is you never really had the choice. The Republican was always a Democrat. He just ran as a Republican because he knew he was in a Republican district, and if he says, hey, we're trying to make infrastructure, we're trying to build roads, right? We're trying to do stimulus. That's not social. It's socialism, but it's not socialism, right? But they're still selling you the same thing. And that's essentially, that Hegelian dialectic. And that's how our senior executive service, or the blob, tends to run things. They're going to come in and they're going to give you what sounds like two different options, but really it's going to be the same option. It's going to be approved, at the same level for the same policy. It's just, how do you want to dress it up?
Okay. So it's 2 steps forward, 1 step forward.
Exactly. You might think you have another option. You don't have another option.
Okay. So, yeah, I had never heard that term before, the blob. So I saw an article last night and it was it wasn't anti-Biden. You can't really find those. No, you can. That's putting my head in the sand. No, you can find those. But it was an article saying the Biden blob, and it was saying although it was run on a ticket of yes we can, old white guy with young black woman, and trans rights and illegal immigrants, and although it was run on kind of hope and change 2.0, the reality is the article was saying is
meet the new boss.
What you get, what they're saying is what you get is the blob that had been there for decades, which was threatened by Trump. We kicked Trump out, but now we have the blob again. And it's kind of, it's the opposition to the blob. They just had to paint. It was Orange Man. It was Orange Mean Man who made mean tweets, and stupid Orange Man. Very easy to kick out Orange
Man bad, blob good. National security experts good.
Well, not even that. Not even that. Because not even that. It's so much as they intelligently, and again, you got to respect your enemy. They intelligently wove it as Orange Man bad, Biden hope and change and progress good, but in reality, that was blob.
Yeah, and if you listen to a lot of think tanks that I do, they openly say this. As I said the last time, I think you were, I was monologuing at this point, but like I listen to Center for Strategic and International Studies. I listen to Brookings Institute and their little lawfare group, the Council on Foreign Relations, and specifically, I like to listen to Brookings people because they're so fucking arrogant that they say the quiet part out loud sometimes, and so they're kind of fun to listen to. But yeah, if you listen to them throughout the entire campaign, they were all, kind of softly critiquing Bernie. And it's like, well, Bernie's all right, but he doesn't have the expertise or the experience, and they always like to use that one. But essentially, the entire campaign was like a party of like, we're coming back, baby, we're coming back. Just wait, America's about to be back. We're going to be back into power, and it's all the same Obama admin people that had just gone into lawfare, that had gone into Brookings, and they're just sitting there. Brookings for them, it's not a job; it's just a waiting room for when they're back in the the policy position. Yeah,
put me in, coach.
I'm just over here chilling.
Put me in, coach. I got it.
And I'm getting, I may not be getting paid directly from the government anymore, but guess what? The government's paying my think tank. I'm still getting my dollars, and I'm just sitting over here waiting until I'm back. Yeah, that's what it is. That's the blob, baby.
If I'm not in a think tank, I'm in a contractor, and that contractor's getting that. Dude, I'm reading Base Nation. I think I told you I'm reading Base Nation by David Vine. For everybody listening to this podcast, Base Nation by David Vine. I'm not finished with it yet, but it's easily top 10 favorite books of mine of all time. It's insane. And this is a guy that, if I'm reading him correctly, I think is more of a liberal anti-American empire, not anti-America. And I could be reading that incorrectly, but I'm trying to get him on the podcast. But anyway, his book, it's an incredible book.
Old school rational lefty is what,
That's the vibe I'm getting from
or center lefty or something like that. Yeah.
And as I said, everyone, regardless, I don't care what his stance is. He's a fantastic author, and I want him on the podcast. But man, his book, Base Nation, it's insane when you realize the entrenchment, how not just with soldiers and bases, but with the caterers, with all the contractors, with all the services we provide. I'm slowly starting to realize, and it's an odd realization. I don't know if it's the black pill, or I don't know if it's just like a ruby red pill, but it's the realization that we've been doing the Belt and Road Initiative since the 50s. Like, we've been doing it, and now we're going, China's doing it,
man, yeah.
But you realize, you go, oh, we've been doing this thing for decades. And then it raises the question of, like, at a certain point, is it like how I learned to stop worrying and love the bomb? Like, at a certain point, do you just bend over and say, you know what? I like the deep state. My guys are in charge. At a certain point, is that the pill you have to take? Is that what we've been offered?
If we were, that would be the pill that gets us back on track. Because the problem that exists right now, that why we're being outcompeted by the Chinese, is at the end of the day, when we started doing our Belt and Road, right, we knew what we were doing. We knew why we were doing it. The problem is the people that have inherited that believe all of our own propaganda. And so when they show up and and they're trying to make a deal, and they're saying fuck history, man, it's about progress now. Just sign the dotted line. We're doing progress. It's because they literally believe our own propaganda after all these years. And, combine that with the lefty propaganda that's just getting shoved in there. And they just think it's a given. They think that the institutions are never going to go anywhere because they inherited the institutions. Meanwhile, the Chinese are still young and hungry. They're just getting started with their Belt and Road project. They've got, Chinese intel officers and CCP officials in every little business that's taking part in that Belt and Road project. And they're not fooling themselves for 1 second. They know what the goal is. They know what they're trying to do. And whether, they're not going to call it unrestricted war, looking to make a personal relationship first and then turn it into business. They're looking for your Hunter Biden and your family. They're looking to, that's what they're looking to do. And they're not going to pretend it's anything different. They might to your face, but in their mind, they are 100% certain on what they're doing. Meanwhile, the closest thing we have to 100% certain is some uneducated, fruit from Brookings is 100% certain that pushing navalny in Russia is pro-democracy, liberal democracy, and all that. They're 100% certain that, and anyone that goes against that's on the wrong side of history. That's the only thing they're certain about, and that's why they fail, and that's why Belt and Road is succeeding.
Yeah, there's this there's this article on Reddit, and I've been permabanned from Reddit for a while. I actually managed to slither in an account about a month ago, and haven't been IP banned yet. But on my desktop computer near my kitchen, which is where my fat ass goes every time I eat, I go sit and vegetate in front of the screen. It's one of my accounts that it's been banned, but it's still like logged in. If I log out, I know I lose it. I'm just logged in because I'm still subbed to all of the subreddits I like. So like, although I can't use it, and every time I log in, there's like a like an inch wide red banner across the entire top of the screen that says you've been permanently suspended, and it's just like, all right, whatever. That's my Jewish star. I still go on that account every day just because all of my favorite subreddits, they're all curated. So it's just like, okay, I can't participate, but I can still watch. That being said, it's whenever I go to the search bar, there's a long convoluted way to say every time I go to the search bar and type in R for Reddit, it goes to like the last article that I was able to comment on for whatever reason. It's just like the internet history. And it's been like 4 months, 5 months, but it's this article on our politics, and it says Noam Chomsky thinks that Trump is the worst criminal in human history. And of course, it's got like 100 trillion upvotes. It's got like 70 trillion awards, and it's just a bunch of yes queen and white man bad and hope change progress. But if you go in and look at the top comment, which of course are just, you can predict them all, this is why this is correct. The very top comment is saying, whereas, and I shit you not, you can go in and you can go find the article. Whereas Hitler and Stalin killed an untold number of people, they were doing it as a means to an end. They had a goal. Whereas Trump, by removing us from the Paris Accords, his end goal is to kill all of humanity. So whereas Hitler and Stalin did kill a lot of people, at least they did have a finish line that once they got to, they weren't going to do any more. Whereas Trump knows no. And I'm reading this, and the Overton window has shifted so much that you're not allowed to go, hey, I know Mao, Stalin, and Hitler killed 1/10 of a billion people in less than a century. I get it. But here's why they weren't actually that bad. The Overton window has shifted so much. Now you could argue, has it actually shifted? Is it all curated? Are there bots, fake upvotes, fake awards to make it appear as if the minority is the majority and vice versa, which is why on Reddit you have to sort by controversial. It's the only time you can get any sort of normal opinion, or less politically incorrect opinion. But the point is of me saying that is like, you can see how things are shifting to within, to where it's been going on for at least my whole life, to where we've been conditioned that white man, American man, bad. It's genius.
And so
by
what
the opposition.
you just mentioned goes back to the first talk we had.
Mm-hmm.
So what I said in the first talk, and what you just said, Trump pulling us out of the Paris Accord is basically him declaring war on humanity. Well, right back to the first talk we did, when I was talking about how essentially in our senior executive service and at the foreign policy elite level, how are people selected for advancement? Well, it's whether or not you believe that. 100% you have to believe that, because in order for us to peacefully sell out our country to China, you have to believe that if we go into Thucydides' trap and we have a conflict, you are killing the entire world. And that the only peaceful solution is to sell us out to China and facilitate the peaceful rise of China. So that is 100% it. When the foreign policy community, when the institutional policy elites say, hey, pulling us out of the Paris Accord, Trump doing this is him declaring war on all of humanity. It's him saying he's going to get everyone killed. That right there, they're telling you straight up, that is the framework which they see foreign policy and how America needs to be going. That is 100% the Kissinger Department of Energy school of thought being broadcasted and told to you straight to your face.
Yeah.
So, we can't have a country anymore. I'm sorry. If we have a conflict with China, it's over. So you got to give yours up.
Now, where was the concern of Thucydides' trap throughout the entire Cold War?
Well, I mean,
no one gave a shit. Instead, it was we need to meet them on every front.
Well, it was more or less, Thucydides trap was kind of existed, but didn't become popularized. It was more about the domino, theory there, the domino effect. Okay. Vietnam's going to fall to communism. And next thing you know, everyone's going to fall to communism.
Mm-hmm.
And, that was kind of the bullshit, even though, there's nothing of strategic value other than heroin, of course, in Southeast Asia for us to be fighting over dirt for over there. But guess what? If we have dead bodies fighting over dirt in rice fields over there, that's cavities we can be stuffing heroin in. So going back to white star sapphires and whatnot. But that's the old school play there. But it was more about domino theory than necessarily Thucydides trap. But that mindset did somewhat exist, and that's why say our version of Belt and Road was so effective, is because we understood, hey, we can't necessarily start a shooting war business in all these countries, and we're bribing them, and we fully understand what we're doing. Not like today where it's just you have a bunch of young punks that have kind of inherited these institutions and believe their own propaganda. Back then we were setting up a Belt and Road so that we could confront the Soviets without going kinetic.
So maybe was the world more stable when the Soviet Union existed, but still could offer a significant counterpunch to the U.S.? Was the world more? Did the world? We've talked about this on our first episode. Does having two powers going at each other, does that sort of act as almost a chariot in which humanity can ride technological progression at a faster rate than just having one alone, right? If you just have one government contractor versus setting up two, think Los Alamos, Sandia, pit them against each other. Sorry, I know I'm talking in one long breath, but we have this delay, so I gotta just punch in my thought real quick. Is it that having these two forces acting at each other, have we not progressed as fast since 1991? And are they maybe arguing, let's devil's advocate, let's take their argument. Maybe they look at a Chinese Belt and Road, maybe they let it be developed and built as a counterweight to our existing Belt and Road from the late 40s until, well, actually it was signed under FDR, the first foreign bases. Is it a way of saying, we let them build their Belt and Road to an extent, and once they're at parity with us, then all of a sudden do we cut them all off and you bring back in a Trump-esque person, and now we have these two powers fighting at each other, and that acts as sort of an engine for stabilization and competition? Or is this wishful thinking? Do we just have a bunch of scumfuck rat elites who are selling us out?
Well, as I said previously, the strategy of definitely leading them into Africa and encouraging them to build some things that they're not in our backyard. For example, I would never encourage this strategy in South America because, it's in our hemisphere. And, I kind of like the 1823 Monroe Doctrine to a certain extent, especially, in a realm of hypersonic nukes. I don't want, near strategic pure competitive threats possibly putting containers of missiles or whatever just south of the border or something like that. But at the end of the day, going back and looking things at the grand strategic geopolitical level, multipolarity is always going to be more stable than a bipolar system. If we have a bipolar system with two opposites that hate each other, it's just going to be proxy conflicts and domino theory, right? Everyone's going to well, if this, one's going to flip, this one's going to flip. And so you end up with all these proxy conflicts. And then there's, going back to more of a pre-World War I view of history, if we have a multipolar system. Now, people are still worried about this because how did World War I started? Well, we had a bunch of convoluted alliances that didn't make sense, and somebody shot somebody, and next thing you know, things are popping off in the Balkans. But, that was, a lot of that probably should have been sorted out in better ways to begin with. These were just old alliances that didn't really cope with the fact that Prussia had become Germany, and that Germany was becoming a greater power that was challenging Britain naval superiority. But at the end of the day, if you have a multipolar system rather than a bipolar system, it's just going to be a lot less likely to have the constant funding and proxy in between two other superpowers, and they're going to be more incentivized to be essentially a neutral mediating factor. This was the original idea of how the European Union got off the ground, going back to guys like Oswald Mosley. When he went beyond their, beyond his thoughts on fascism and everything that he had in his early days when there was a speech he gave in front of the United Nations where he was kind of talking about his vision of a united Europe versus what the EU would actually turn into. And from his idea, the entire idea of having a united Europe would have been a great solution to solve the Cold War, because then you would have some kind of neutral mediating power that is going to be more incentivized to maintain stability in their backyard or in between, and not necessarily having these groups pop off at each other. And of course, if you have more people that are kind of competing in arms races and whatnot, it's a lot less likely that they're going to try to outspend one another and start an arms race. If it's kind of everyone having to do it, you're much more likely to go back to the old school days. Like if you go back to World War One, one of the reasons that caused this major issue is that in the old school days, guys would have listened to guys like Bismarck. They would have listened to the old school conservatives. It was said, hey, if you build dreadnoughts, if you build a navy that Britain feels challenged by, Britain is not going to be our friend anymore. And how did Britain hold down the continent with the French and everything while they were out sailing around the world setting up an empire? Well, it was the Prussians. The Prussians were the boots on the ground that made sure that the continent was not at. So how did we change that alliance to what we see now, where the French and the Brits against the Germans, and that they had 100 years war? How the fuck did this happen? Wilhelm was the grandson of Queen Victoria. How the fuck did this whole clusterfuck happen? Well, it's because once the old school conservatives like Bismarck were thrown out and people started listening to guys like Admiral Tirpitz, well, you ask an admiral, hey, you want a bigger navy? Fuck yeah, I want a bigger navy. Of course I want a bigger navy. I want dreadnoughts like the British have. And the old leadership would have said, if we build dreadnoughts, we're challenging the British and it's going to fuck up everything. But those old school guys that understood this were out of the way. And, guys like Wilhelm II, guys like Tirpitz were just thinking, well, Wilhelm grew up grandson of Victoria. Wilhelm grew up seeing how the British Empire was and how the British Navy was. And he wasn't thinking of it as we're going to challenge the British. He was just thinking, well, that's how empires are supposed to run. I want a navy just like, my family has a navy over here. And not understanding that to the realists, you are challenging them. And that is how we get, say Ukraine crisis or anything else. We have this coddled elite that inherited these institutions, didn't build them, doesn't know what it takes to build them, doesn't know what other people are going to view as a threat. And next thing you know, Russia's popping off and saying, no, we're serious. You're the ones fucking around. It's that exact same mindset. It's realism versus idealism. And the we lose and the Chinese win at the end of the day is because they're still operating from the mindset of realism, while as the guys that are calling our shots are operating from the mindset of idealism.
You've got my mind turning. And
that's how multipolarity versus bipolarity tends to work. And yeah,
I'm gonna pee again. David, keep talking.
All right, go for it. I didn't mean to go too much into World War I history there, but, it's really important if you want to get into, understanding the dynamics, because most of us have only grown up knowing either a bipolar system. If you're old enough to remember the Cold War with the Soviets, you remember what a bipolar world is like. And then, most people in my generation growing up, we only know what a unipolar world looks like with America on top. The idea of a multipolar world that existed pre-World War I is almost an alien concept. And it's one of the things that we really need to study and pay attention to, because that's the only way that we're going to have stability. It's going to be, hey, if we can get the Chinese Communist Party to collapse the same way that Russia collapsed and has reformed, there's corruption, there's problems with Russia now, but they don't have an ideology that's seeking to conquer the world. Russia is not a pure threat to us now. Russia is someone that we can have a healthy competitive relationship with now. Obviously, we're still going to have proxy little conflicts with them here and there. We're going to have our differences here and there, but we can work with Russia as a healthy rival at that point, in a way that we can't work with the Communist Party as a healthy rival. Now, if another Chinese state were to emerge there, obviously we're going to have competition. Even if we're in Israel, for example, we have a lot of competitive interests that don't align with Israel's interests, and we're always having to, work around those. But we can work around those because we have close enough ideological frameworks that we can get away with it. And that's really the only way that we can build a more stable system, is if we have a multipolar world full of great powers that all do kind of operate from the same system. If you have, two great powers, if you have Russia and China that are up from the mindset of a realist, and then you have America that's, just operating from an idealistic standpoint, you're going to have conflict, just because the idealists aren't going to believe the realists when the realists say, don't cross this line.
So let's zoom out, go to the 30,000-foot view. What if, hear me out, what if the elite are looking at the world, let's say global warming, for whatever you believe in it or not, whether you think it's man-made or not, whether you think it's solar or not, whatever, the temperatures are increasing, that's an objective fact. Let's say they're looking at this thing and they're like, no amount, even if we did a global Manhattan Project with every nation on Earth, we couldn't reverse climate change. Let's say there's some think tank that just shows like, hey man, this thing's done by 2040, well, by 2050, it's done. This thing's cooked. They're looking at, well, let's flee the planet, and either maybe they wait until the sea rises and it kills all of humanity, and then they can come back down as the Earth kind of heals itself, or maybe they're looking at an offshore, or they're looking at a Mars outpost, or perhaps maybe even like an Elysium type thing where it's orbiting Earth. So let's look at this. So what do they need? Let's say that they're looking at this. It can't be changed and can't be fixed. Even if they did want to work with us plebeians, they couldn't do it. So they're looking at, well, what do we need? We need rocket technology. We need space technology. Now, we could do a full Manhattan Project and say we must have dominance in space. That's one way to jack ahead to rocket technology, getting it's a lower pound per, or lower dollar per pound to orbit. But what if they're looking at it and they're like, what's an even faster way? Like what got us to the moon, right? Rocket technology. Why were they so scared of Sputnik? Not because it was a sphere that beeped, but because that sphere beeping could be a nose cone with a warhead that could come right down on DC from across the world. So what if they're looking at it as, we need a new formidable enemy, and we're going to pit the United States at China and vice versa. And what they're going to do is the new, Mr. President, we cannot have a mine shaft gap, or, a bomber gap or a missile gap. What if they want China to get more powerful so that we can have a Sputnik 2.0 moment, where all of a sudden we have some Chinese thing where all of a sudden it's China's orbiting 300, whatever their equivalent of Marines are. They have a 300 soldier orbiter. We have our Sputnik moment where we go, America's kicks in into high gear. We got to develop Space Force. All of a sudden, Space Force is getting $200 billion a year. And what you do is you pit these two nations at each other, hyper accelerate their ability to create spacefaring technology. Right? It's gonna blossom in every field, not just how to get to space, but how to how to deal with microgravity, bone density loss, muscle tissue loss, extraplanetary and extrasolar radiation, just the whole spiel of how to be able to survive in space. It's going to turn to Outposts on the moon. It's going to be like For All Mankind, the TV show, which I haven't watched, but what if that's the idea, is that we've got 29 years till this thing's tanked. The quickest way for us, the elites, to get to the moon is to slow down our rise for 20 years. Let's say they figured this out 20 years ago. Slow down America's rise for 20 years. Let China catch up. And right when China kind of starts to get parity, maybe around 2025, we stop holding back America and we let China and America go back at it. And they're going to make a century of spacefaring gains in 20 years. And then around 2045, we have all the technology, and then and we'll take some elites from China and we eat out of here, and we drink adrenochrome from a chalice and sacrifice it to Moloch and watch Earth collapse from orbit. Or is that, did I go way too deep?
The main case, I think the main case that I would make against that is that at the end of the day, when we look at what the secret space program Yeah, what is the secret space program budget that we have now? Well, we know it's basically unlimited. We look at what they're putting out for people now. It's money printer go burr, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're running the fiat currency until it runs out anyway. So it's not like going back to 9/11 and everything due to the war on terror. It's like you if you want to build some program where you're just going to take it into high gear, the infrastructure already exists to do all this outside of the public eye. It's already there. You don't necessarily need to give China that chance to catch up, to create that atmosphere. As a matter of fact, I would argue it's better that you don't, because once you allow that to happen, the average American is starting to think geopolitically. They're starting to think about threats to them, and they're starting to think about, well, what do I do if I get nuked, and how do I get out of here? If that was my goal. Right, go ahead.
Sorry, I held my finger up not to be a douche, but just because we have the delay. But what if, I'll let you run in a second, but what if the idea is, no, let China rise so that every worker in these secret space programs, they come to work every day with the same sort of oomph as they did when they thought the Soviets were going to nuke us from orbit any second. The idea is you make the thing, you get a little extra oomph that money can't provide. You get the true, oh, fuck, the Chi-Coms are coming from orbit. Go on.
It's possible, but there's a lot of threats that that you could, behind closed doors and stuff like that. There's a lot of things that you could bring up, biological threats, and you don't necessarily need a peer competitor to say that's that we got these terrorists out there. They might be building dirty bombs. There's CRISPR technology. You don't necessarily need that, and I would argue it's better that you don't, because if that was my goal, if I'm trying to get a breakaway civilization out of here, my entire goal is to keep everyone panicked. If it was up to me, I would just be like, let's never talk about China. Let's never talk about terrorism. Let's bread and circuses. Let's let Americans be fat, dumb, never hear anything about it. And meanwhile, you're just going through like the bad dude from Moonraker, just going through basically lists of, academic students and whatnot, just going, I want this guy. I want this guy. I want this guy. I want this guy. And then what we can do is we can build psychological profiles on them, and we can figure out what guy number A fears the most. We can find out what guy number B fears the most. We can find out what guy number C fears the most, and we can tailor very specific threats that will motivate them.
It's G, right?
To give you that extra oomph. Yeah, G.
It's much easier to motivate a select group of people rather than all of America. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right.
And that's, once again, that's understand. This is why Americans are failing, is because we don't understand the mindset of Guanxi. Unless you're thinking about it that way, we don't think about it that way. But the Chinese, even if you're not an intelligence officer, the average Chinese businessman is thinking about it that way. He might not know it in terms of intelligence nomenclature, but he knows Guanxi.
So this whole podcast was a perfect example of that's not how us, or me as an American, I'm the American ambassador. You can see that's not how I think, right? I'm like, we got to get all of America going, and you're going, no, you only get these researchers, get these young Stephen Hawkings or John von Neumann's, and you go, hey, this guy fears Chinese ICBM. So you bring him into a briefing, right? A special access program. And you go, hey, this is what China's doing. And that's how you get him to come join you at DARPA instead of going and making $1 trillion at Raytheon. And then you bring in the next guy and he fears bioweapons. And you go, hey, if we get to space, we'll be able to, and you just feed him some bullshit, but you get them all to, okay, all right. Or maybe that's what's happening.
Exactly. Or it could be aliens. It could be total bullshit.
Is that what all the UFO shit is?
Entire American people. Well, now, and then all of a sudden I'm going to have a bunch of, conspiracy theorists, veterans, and all these kind of, prepper type people, and they're going to be debunking me and looking into my claims and trying to say, well, hey, they're not really doing this, they're doing that, when it's just better to just fuck all that to begin with. Let Americans be fat, dumb, and stupid, and just approach the guys you want and figure out what will motivate them, whether it's money, whether it's fear, whether it's like the blue beam aliens coming down. There's something that's going to motivate that guy. Going back to 1984, like, hey, if we know you're afraid of a rat in a cage, that's what we're gonna do to motivate you.
Okay, let's take it in 180, or kind of in 180. Oh fuck, dude, do you see that, kind of in a completely side note, that shooting last night in Boulder?
I haven't looked into that one yet, but I heard about it.
I don't know. I don't have a conspiracy take on it or anything. It's just topical because my buddy Warren, who I've had on this podcast a lot, the meme sack guy, he moved to Boulder. So I called him at like 1 a.m. I was freaking out. I was like, Warren, are you okay? He's like, yeah, dog. And I was like, all right. I was like, all right, fuck you. I'm not worried about you. But to take it back before that, it's what me and Roger were saying the other day. We were just kind of spitballing about how it seems like Black Lives Matter, like, sure, it comes up more during elections, but there is an actual problem in America with cops shooting unarmed black guys. Like, that's an actual thing. That's like, even as like a white, Trump supporting guy that's against the left. No, that's kind of a bipartisan thing. We got to stop shooting unarmed black guys. That's no bueno, right? But me and Roger were saying, and Roger, who is on the polar opposite political spectrum as me, but that's why he and I get along, is because we can just talk like adults. He was saying too, he was like, it's like something I do agree with you on. Is like, it kind of seems like the hashtag Stop Asian Hate, it kind of seems like it's just come out of nowhere, right? It's just kind of come at, like, you could trace BLM if you really wanted to back to like Rodney King. You could trace it back to the civil rights and fire hoses, right? If you really wanted to make that argument, you could.
And I guarantee you the Chinese are already looking at this and thinking, how can we play this up?
Well, that's what Roger
to make it seem like there's a situation.
Well, that's what Roger and I were saying is stop China or stop Asian hate. Because really, I mean, the last Asian hate is, I mean, hate to break it to you guys, but it was the Democrat FDR. He actually put him in internment camps. But don't bring that up, and don't bring up Harvard's reverse affirmative action program with Asians. That's institutionalized Asian hate.
And whatever you do, don't bring up the Boxer Rebellion.
Oh yeah, I know, right?
Or the two opium wars that formed the pillar of Chinese nationalism that they refer to as the century of national humiliation. Don't talk about how opium can be used to destroy the spirituality and the faith of the people, and then bring in some kind of nihilist communism to take over.
Yeah, or and is that happening again with fentanyl? We can't talk about any of that. But enough with these kind of tongue-in-cheek things. Let's just what I think is a completely reasonable conspiracy is stop Asian hate. Is that a Chinese psyop? Just like, let's say the Nazis weren't as strong as they were when they just invaded Poland. Let's say that they were a very tiny, weak power, nothing close to a hegemon. If it was 2020, they would maybe start flooding newspapers and social media sites in Poland, maybe, and start saying, stop German hate. And they would just start going, yeah, German hate, because you're getting ready, because hey, baby,
it's the Russians saying, hey, our people are being oppressed in Crimea. It's the Ukrainians saying, hey, our people are being oppressed in Crimea. It's the Turkish saying, hey, our people are being oppressed in Crimea. That's 100% it. And our strategy from a propaganda perspective is, we shouldn't even be saying stop Asian hate. We should be saying Asian Lives Matter, because I don't know if you've seen the controversy over that, but when you look at the Black Marxists, they got really pissed off at the idea of an Asian Lives Matter, and they said, don't use this hashtag, don't say this, say, stop Asian hate, because that is taking away from the Black Marxist movement. And so the smartest thing we should just jump straight to is going, hell yeah, Asian Lives Matter, and because every time we can do that, we're pitting two Marxist strategy camps right back at each other. And that's what we want to be doing. Is we don't want the black box of all communists united to be running psyops against us. We want to be turning them against each other to fight against each other. And that's essentially the only strategy that we can go straight to there.
So we got to take their throwing arm and we got to grab it and flip them over. We got to say, no, yeah, you're right. Stop Asian hate.
Exactly.
You gotta play dumb like a fox and go, you're right. Stop Asian hate. Actually, Asian lives matter.
Asian lives matter, man.
Asian lives matter. They do. All right. Is that what it all is? Is it just motherfucker?
I hate to be such a cynical bastard about such things, but that's just the way I see everything as propaganda and politics, and that's just how I view it. You see, how they're going to try to astroturf this situation to play into the racial divide of America, and you got to lean into it. You got to use their policy, use their terminology. If hey, Asian Lives Matter is going to piss off this group of communists and make them hateful towards Asians, well, guess what? You're now driving the communists towards hating Asians, and then you're making the Asians realize, hey, communism is what's causing this, and then all of a sudden you're recapturing the narrative, and that's what it's about. You want to recapture that narrative.
So is it, and I think it's Terrence McKenna said this. He was like, the real scary thing is not that the Americans are in charge, or that the Vatican's in charge, or that the Jews are in charge. He was like, it's none of that, or it's not that shape-shifting aliens are in charge. He's like, the true terrifying thing is no one's in charge, and there are just these power pockets that are very good at
It's just con artists figuring it out as they go
they're
along.
very good at pretending like they're in charge, right? They're very good at making it seem like a black box coordinated effort. But is the reality, is there no one in charge? Is everything isn't orchestrated? Maybe there is just chaos. Like maybe Stop Asian Hate really was just a it was just a formulation in the infinite variable machine of the internet, and it just for whatever reason rose to the top. Like, why did the platypus evolve? Like sometimes you just get freaky outcomes, right? Like sometimes it's just that's what happens. Is that true?
Yeah.
Could that be the case? There isn't a grand plan between China rising. Maybe China's just rising, and maybe we're just rotting.
Well, I mean, no matter what, at the end of the day, the people that rise to the top and call, at a policy making level, what is it? It's confidence artists, it's psychopaths, getting to the top. And then what is it? Power is the illusion of power, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a bunch of people that some of them are aware of that they're, of how powerful they are and how in charge they are, but it's also the fact that, it's no one person is really in charge, because at the end of the day, once you get that level, it's Guanji. It's all of us are married men going to the strip club, and none of us are going to snitch on the other, because if you snitch on me, you snitch on yourself, and that's kind of how it goes into. You're either a part of that club or you're not.
So the question must be posed: was Epstein the ultimate practicer of Wanji?
Well, I would say Ghislaine. No, normally when you're studying this, it's
Or
normally
Epstein,
the theme.
Ghislaine, yeah.
Yeah, it's normally whether it's Islamic terrorists, whether it's Chinese Fang Fang or whatever. Normally, the intelligence officer is actually the female that's operating in that country, or whatever, that's handling assets and whatnot. But yeah, essentially it is that, it is 100%. Hey, if I can get Hunter Biden or whoever, with blackmail material, that's Guanji too. Guanji is either, hey, us on a fishing boat, drinking some Tsingtao, and we're coming up with the soft version of policy before we go in with our lawyers to just, do the little formality. Or it is 100% getting blackmail, so that, I know we're in bed together now. I know we have Guanji because I've got you on tape, you've got me on tape, we've all got each other on tape, and no one's going to do shit because you snitch on me, you snitch on yourself, and that's Guanji.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so yeah, I don't want to get caught up in, is it Epstein, is it Ghislaine, is it whoever? It's whatever is the idea, and not to deflect, not to say like let's not focus on them, but just for the sake of the conversation, is it the concept of using pedophilia on an island? Is that the ultimate Wanji?
Yeah.
Because you and I go into the strip club, that's there's not, okay, let's say you have a crisis of conscience and you tell your wife, like, you and I really aren't in bed, like, who knows, maybe my wife forgives me, maybe she says fuck you, she's gone, but whatever. Man, if you're on an island doing just unspeakable acts, truly just like biblical shit,
it's about slow walking you to that point, right? And at the end of the day, why do you want to get to the point where it's killing
David,
or whatever, doing some awful shit? Oh, okay. Well,
you're back.
Let me know when I'm coming again. All right. So the idea is walking you to get to that point, because I know once I get you to the point where, say, you're going to whack a kid, right? You're going to take the kid out. There's nothing you won't do to protect the cause. You're 100% committed at that point. And the idea is, how do I walk you to that point? Well, it's never just going to go straight there. That's a real hard thing to do. You're not just going to ask someone, hey, you want to go into this? Hey, you want to do some real hard stuff? It's going to be, can I get you to take a little bribe here? Can I get you to do a little bit of this here, a little bit of drinking over here? And then it's going to be that step. It's going to be like, hey, okay, so first we're just drinking, we're having a good time there. Then next thing you know, we're getting you to have a prostitute, right? And we're getting a prostitute, whatever. And next thing you know, regardless of whether or not, I know Alex Jones like to talk about this all the time. regardless of whether or not the girl actually is underage, I'm going to come over and I'm going to say, hey, that girl is 16. And coming from an entertainment background, you see this kind of stuff all the time, and people will comment on it. You'll see these Ukrainian and these Russian dance troops that come in, just a whole group of dancers, and you will see these girls, they're never without makeup, and you can't tell if they're fucking 15 or 25. You have no fucking idea.
Jesus.
And most people are fucking scared to approach them and ask. Absolutely gorgeous girls, but you can't fucking tell. You have no fucking idea what you're dealing with. And so the point is, if I can get you to that point where it's like, hey, man, that girl you were with last night, she was 16 or whatever, but don't worry, I'm going to cover it up. We got you covered. It's good, right? And that's that next step of Guanxi. And then once I have you there, it's like, once I have you doing something bad, it's going to be, well, I'm going to get you doing something worse and something worse and something worse. And the next thing you know, you're a trained fucking killer, part of the group. If I tell you to go out and whack this guy, you're going to go out and whack that guy.
Yeah,
that's Guanxi.
It's a system of just everything's knotted together, and you can't go out. And it's, man, I feel like the ultimate thing would kind of be like the movie Kingsman, where you get an implantable explosive in like your spine, and it's if you tell anyone about, it's kind of like an Illuminati plan to kill everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's if you rat, your head just explodes. Or like a Hitman, one of the levels, there's like a head guy, and they're the Illuminati. It's called Providence. Providence is like, they're not sure if this guy is who they thought he was, and they're like, are you loyal to the plan? And he's like, I've like given you 50 years of my life. And they're like, we understand that, but they're like, you're taking the shot. And he's just like, fuck you. But it's a shot he has to take, and it's like a little vial of like VX gas, and it goes right into like the base of his neck, and it's a capsule that they can detonate at any time. Now, he never stabs him in the back, but to them it was like, we don't trust you. I don't know, man. Is that the ultimate case? You get him up to do something like that.
It's insurance. One of my favorite games I used to play when growing up, it's actually where the game Among Us kind of got the idea from. It's called Space Station 13. And it's like the greatest Milgram Stanford prison experiment ever run, because you'll have like 70 people. Every one of them is a psychopath just waiting to get the orders of, hey, you're a traitor, hey, you're this, that, or the other, and you can just go around and do whatever the fuck you want. And they have stuff exactly, it's actually insane. You can genetically engineer little viruses that'll make everyone talk like Bill Cosby. Or just like you said, they had, you could surgically implant, you could turn someone into a robot, you turn them into a cyborg, you can implant them with a bomb that will go off if they say a certain thing. Really absurd, over the top stuff like that. It's just not as, it's one of those things. Among Us is this streamlined game that any kid can pick up and play. You got to like read, hours worth of wiki to play Space Station 13 proficiently, because of how technical and all the shit you can do. But yeah, it's 100%, at the top level is 100%. I don't, just the same way that we're going to start a business relationship, and we're not going to fuck around and bullshit until we know the contract is signed and ironclad in the West, not from a Guanxi mindset, but because we know the paper power of the contract is enough to hold us in line. Well, when you get into like super shady, dark shit like that, obviously we can't put that on paper.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously the only insurance I have is if something happens, you're dead, I'm dead. If someone fucks up, dead as fuck. There's no other way about it. So yeah, bomb in the neck, however you want to say it, that is going to be the ultimate deal. There's no way around that. That's the ultimate security clearances. Boom, I press this button, you're dead. Okay, you fuck up, you're dead. There's no other way around it.
Yeah, yeah. It kind of seems, isn't it, with the SR-71 Blackbird, to be a pilot, you had to be married, and I think you had to have at least one kid. And forever people kind of thought, because it meant that you were mature and that you were a little more stable, because this was such a secret thing. And like, not just the fact that we were doing overflights, but as well as the technology, everything about it was just, man, if the Soviets capture one of these, or if somebody defects with it, it's going to set us back decades. Their whole thing was, to be a pilot, you had to have a wife and at least one kid. And a lot of people
collateral.
Well, a lot of people misconceive it as, it means they're stable and mature. No, it meant that your wife and your kid are here, back home. You're not all sneaking out on some red-eye flight to the Soviet Union. When you're going on a flight, we know where your wife and kid are. They're on the base. We have them. You're coming back with that plane. It's dark.
and anyone that's studied, say medieval history or understands how nobility think, this is, it's the concept of nobility is so alien to the American mind, just because we think it's, the only place in American society it really exists is at an unspoken level at the country club or in the military, for example, officers. That's the closest thing we have to nobility, and we don't really think about it like that. But that's what it was back in the day. Nobility was you got to have collateral. You're going to send your kid over here with me for a while because, if you do anything wrong, I'm going to kill your kid, right? It's why did Rommel commit suicide when he got implicated in the plot to kill Hitler?
Yeah.
Well, guess what? If Rommel doesn't off himself, we're killing your family.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what it is. You have to have that level of collateral or you're not in the game, and into this, does it mean you're more stable? Yeah. The same way they want to be looking at your finances and saying, hey, this guy doesn't have a gambling problem. He doesn't have cash flow problems. So he's not going to be susceptible to, a quick and easy bribe. He's got a wife and kid here, so we know if he goes and does anything, we're on his fucking family, and that's the mindset. And we don't think about it just because the average American never will think about hostage diplomacy. But if you go and you study medieval history and you study, what nobility did, hostage diplomacy, that's like 101. You better learn how that works.
Man, maybe that's why we don't hear about, like was it Gary McKinnon who broke into a computer in the United Kingdom, I think in the late 2000s or early 2010s, and allegedly hacked into it. No, I think he did hack into like the US Defense Network, and I think he went to jail for that. Now, what he found allegedly was proof of a program called Solar Warden, which is all about the US's secret space fleet. And apparently we don't have shuttles. We just have full on like space destroyers, and we're protecting the solar system more realistically. You probably just have a hand up on the Tricoms and the Soviets. Maybe that's why we don't hear about that shit, is because they're so airtight
Right. Well, they're all doing 20 in backs or whatever, and they get the little MIB mind wipe when they come back, and they're out there, they're torpedoing reptilian shipping somewhere out near Sirius.
I think that's disinfo, right?
Yeah. No, that's 100%. That's just me being a shitlord, from looking down those rabbit holes. But I remember the
I know them all. I know
stuff coming out, basically saying, and that could be this info. That could be us saying, hey, China, look, we've got the whole galactic fleet over here. That could be. I don't know. But I don't really know what to make of that kind of stuff, just because at the same level, like. I love reading about space stuff. I love reading about strategic weapons and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I just kind of have to limit myself, because it's like, if any of these things actually come into play, it was nice knowing you guys.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. It's kind of right. It's kind of like who's the guy at Wayne Industries who wants to blackmail Bruce Wayne, in Dark Knight. You know what I'm talking about? He goes up to where he's like, I think Bruce Wayne's Batman, and I want $10 million a year. He's like, so you think that the CEO of this company, one of the richest men on the planet, is also like a jujitsu black belt who beats enemies to a pulp with his bare hands in his spare time, and your plan is to blackmail him? Good luck.
It's like genius. Very genius.
Good luck, bud. It's kind of the same thing, right? If this whole batshit thing is true, and that there is this hyper advanced, aircraft carriers in orbit, then what the fuck are we going to do? It's kind of like it's over. It was never started. Or is it tiers of disinfo, right? That's the whole Corey Goode, David Wilcock thing. Yeah, I was teleported to the moon, and I had to go serve for 20 years, and we're fighting aliens, and then they put you back in time and age regress you. To me, that sounds like some disinfo you'd sprinkle over a real program. Maybe it's not Solar Warden. Yeah. Maybe we have the equivalent of like a fleet of like shuttle 2.0s that we don't know about. And it's disinfo. So if you hear about those and you go, yeah, those are the time traveling guys from the moon, you go, okay, you're high. Is there a second tier of disinfo on there? And we do have a fleet of maybe 10 shuttles, but in case China finds out about the big disinfo for the general populace is the 20 and back. The next level disinfo is for China. They find out about our 10 space shuttles, and they think that we have mile-long craft out on Jupiter, right? Maybe there's tiers to it. Maybe none of it fucking exists at all. It's all a mind fuck, and it's just
We're in the dome, you know.
it's just yeah. Maybe it's just to drain the tricoms. Maybe that's it. You know, it's like the idea of what benefit would faking a moon landing do? Well, it drains the Soviet Union's bank account. I mean, fuck, it just starts spiraling.
Yeah. That's exactly why I focus so much on wanting to crack, say, the DOE black budget, black energy programs there. Because at the end of the day, for me, like, I would love to know what's going on at that level. But for me, I view that's the 100-yard target. I know the DOE black energy programs, that's the 25 target. And I know if I can crack that, we're going to get more about the other stuff.
Yeah.
So that's the way I tend to focus on it, is because, like you, I love a lot of this stuff, and I'll jump into all the conspiracy rabbit holes. But at a certain point, it's like you're analyzing disinfo. You're going through here, and you're like, okay, so we're putting this out to fuck with these guys over here, fuck with these guys over here, and it's really hard to know what the hell is real at that, when you're looking into that. And so it's fun. I'll definitely, when it's 3 a.m. and, and I'm, just chilling, whatever, have a few drinks and just looking for fun. It's really fun stuff. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's fire up a water pipe or something. Great stuff. Yeah. But,
it's a guilty pleasure. Yeah. No, I'm not above it at all.
It's yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you. It's interesting stuff, but I just view it as, there's a 25-yard target that we got to crack first before we can really, realistically get onto that.
What's kind of crazy to think about is, just like the military, right? Whenever they always tap all these companies to, we used Coors Light to build the mini pencil beryllium oxide fuel rods for the Project Pluto nuclear, the nuclear powered cruise missile in the 50s. We tapped Coors, right? The landing gear for the planned X-20 Dinosaur, DYNA-SOAR, an early 1950s space plane 30 years before the shuttle. We tapped, I think, Goodyear they didn't make tires. Instead, it was these weird wire brush skids, so it could land anywhere in the world, because the whole world would have to be its runway. They have the ability to tap the best of any institution. And CIA.
That's cool. I didn't know about that. Wire brush skids. That's
cool. Yeah. No, it's smart as fuck. But right, and then we eventually ended up using them for the X-15. For the X-15, right? It was going so fast, Mach 6.9 or something. They had to cover it. They went and got like the best steel mill people in the world, because the thing that you put molten steel into, what's the buckets that hold the molten steel? It's made out of something called Inconel. They coated the leading edges of the X-15 with Inconel. So my point is these elite groups, they have the ability to tap the best of the best of the best, right? CIA, SAD, they have the ability to get the leading, quick draw guy in the world to come teach a private course, because they have unlimited funds, because they print the fucking money, right? Mm-hmm. So if you want to make disinfo, I say all of that to say everything they do is just the Olympic team. So if they're making disinfo, that implies that there is an Olympic team of fictional writers that are far better than J.R.R. Tolkien, J.K. Rowling, George R.R. Martin, but they're just sworn to secrecy.
Writers and psychologists.
The world will never know. Yeah. Just like, the CIA agents who served in silence and we'll never know their names. There is a team of writers that could blow the doors off of any HBO board, but they're sworn to secrecy because they write the best disinfo ever. It's a team of guys that just, there they are typing at night, and they're the world's best fictional author, but no one will ever know their name. Better than Harry Potter, but they wrote the Bob Lazar story.
And they're going to be working with psychologists and marketing experts, and they're going to be going around, and they're going to be okay, here's this up and comer Tommy. He's talking about all kinds of things. We got to feed him something, right? And so we're going to figure out, well, what does Tommy really like? What's he going to get into? And then they're going to tailor that just for you. Yeah. And it's going to be it's just going to be just enough of what you love to get you going down that trail, and then, this info land. And, hey, that's the game. Essentially is, when you're dealing with, in the current situation we're in now, you can't keep anything 100% secret and silent. It's security through obscurity. It's so overt, it's covert. How do we make so much noise and pop off so many decoys that you are never going to be able to pull the truth out of this? And that's the game now.
For any members of the SES or the Blob or any 3-letter agencies listening, please contact me. I will absolutely play ball with you. I would love to be on the inside. You didn't even have to tell me all of it. Give me one briefing in one special access program of something that's been mothballed. Just throw me a bone and I'll spit out all the disinfo you want. Give me some gigabit ethernet. Give me some money. I'd like a Cybertruck. That would be cool. I'll play ball. David will play ball. He'll contract under me.
Well, yeah. Listen, I've tried. Listen, they won't respond to me. But if you would like to send an email to sespolicy@opm.gov, you are more than welcome to send that. That's a real email. You can send that. Go talk shit all you want. Matter of fact, tell them I sent you. I literally send my shit posts to them all the time just because I don't respect them as human beings or as any kind of intelligence community. I think they're actually a special needs community at the end of the day. But, feel free to contact them. Maybe they will send someone to talk to you. They don't like me. They really don't. They don't like me at all.
I can only think that if they were ever to contact me, that they would do it as a guest and I wouldn't even know. Right? If they're really
right.
Good, if they're good, how do I not know that Dale is my handler? Dale might be my handler, right?
Dale might be the handler. It could be.
I mean, dude, the theories could. I had someone around. We got to wrap this up in like 5 minutes because I got another guy at 4. Mm-hmm. The theory that there was probably this time last year, right after I had on Mike Durant, the Black Hawk Down pilot, episode 95. I think I was at like 200 subscribers, and I remember seeing a post on Reddit or a comment on one of my posts, and there was actually a couple people talking about how they thought that I was like a facade for Air Force recruitment because they were like, this channel is brand new. It's got next to no subscribers. And this guy's pulling in these guys, Dale Comstock.
There's no way Tommy's going to be pulling into these. He glows in the dark, man. I'm telling you, he went to Flet C.
Well, that's no, but I was reading comments about this, and then like a couple months later, when I was at 500 subscribers, but I was having on like Brigadier General Spalding, they're like, this guy is plugged in because he's working for the Air Force. And in my mind, I was just like, there was no greater, it's like they say, imitation is the sincerest form of flattery.
Right?
It wasn't that. To me, there's another more sincere form. And it's become so good, work so hard at your podcast that people think you have to be in the Illuminati because how else would you be getting these contacts? To me, that was the greatest compliment ever.
Be perfectly honest, when I looked through all the people you were getting, I'm like, shit, this guy might as well be freaking CIA or something up
somebody.
there. He might as well be sending shit post directly to sespolicy@opm.gov. So like, if I think you glow in the dark, that encourages me. I want to go talk with that guy.
yeah, but that's, to me, there's no greater compliment than when I hear people say, no, he's plugged in with someone, because how else would a channel that small get that many yes? To me, I'm like, that is the most flattering thing that people go. It's kind of like that meme, and it's like shows the pyramids, and it's like, don't just succeed, work so hard that the only logical explanation for your work is aliens. It's just the pyramids. It's just like outperforms so well that it's like, dude, saying, yeah,
that's that really is the highest compliment. When someone looks, I remember one time my doctor looked at me and asked me if I was an alien, and I was just like, dude, that right there is the highest compliment, man. If you can be so dedicated, it's like, just go for it, man. Fuck being afraid of what some people, are saying on the internet. Like, especially because, all the people that are like, man, that guy's a fed, man. This guy glows in the dark, man. It's like, guess what? Those are the people you want to be talking to anyway, because those are the guys that are screwing you over. Why don't you want to get up in their face?
Engage. Yeah.
Fuck it.
Yeah. It's like people that
go engage. Yeah.
Yeah. People that say Elon Musk is an alien. It's like, man, I don't think there could be a greater compliment to his intellect.
Let's go talk to aliens, man. It's like Don was saying on a show the other day. I'm sure there's an FBI agent watching this show right now. Come on down to our meets, man. We'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, man. If there's anybody watching this episode, shoot me an email.
It's kind of hard to beat that.
You can come on the cast, man. I don't care. Maybe what I got to do is Juan G. Maybe when this channel gets to the size of Rogan, I'll find out. I'll find my FBI handlers and I'll be like, hey, I'll pay off you and your family. You guys tell me what's going on so I can create some great content. Maybe I'll end up with 10,
Exactly.
10 shots in the back of the
100%
head.
guanxi, man.
Fuck, dude.
You know, it happens this day to the DEA. There are a lot of people because the DEA confiscated so much money from the Silk Road, the drug dealing operation. That there are drug dealers out there that have incredibly high bounties just for information on anyone that was connected to those cases, and they want to find those people. And I don't know if their intention is to have a conversation with them, but they definitely want some guanxi with those people.
Jesus, man. It's well for anybody. And then part of me wonders, do I say, no, I'm not part of the Air Force, but thank you for the compliment? Or is the smart thing to do, do I entertain that? Do I entertain it? Do I increase the lore?
I always entertain it. Whenever someone accuses me of glowing in the dark, I say, please contact my handlers at sespolicy@opm.gov and tell them how I'm doing.
Yeah, maybe that's what I should do, is when people comment that stuff, I'll delete the comments or I'll shadow ban them. Just make them
just
think.
To encourage their paranoia, right? Because you'll know they'll post 10 somewhere else once you do that.
Yes. And that's just, there's no such thing as bad PR, right? There's, man. Well, God, the guests I'm having over the course of the next, I can't, who, but I can't tell my listeners. There's someone coming in by June 1st, I'm having on a guest that, I mean, I can only imagine is going to make it seem like I have a contact in the deep state. It's the only way it will be justified. I told you about him.
Which I'm incredibly excited for. And yeah, and guess what? Once again, you can email Tommy's handlers at sespolicy@opm.gov. Tell him how he's doing. Well, and buy the merch. Check out the merch.
And buy the merch. No matter what, buy the merch. This is not deep state, all right? All of my contact lists are from the deep state, but this is original content, baby. Fund the podcast. Don't fund the deep state, okay? Buy the merch. Merch will be
MK Ultra can't create that on its own. That's all Tommy.
You can't. This is crazier than any CIA psyops you can do. But David, we got to wrap this one up because I got the guy that we're discussing the upgrade for the Medal of Honor. We're doing that guy next. So I'm sorry to cut you off short. But,
no problem, man.
Let's wrap this bitch up. I'll text you later when it's up. Let's definitely do another one. And yeah, as for now, let's wrap this bitch up because
looking forward to it, Tommy. Have a good one.
You too, my man. Take care. David O'Neill, everybody. Stay safe, everybody. God bless. David, I'll text you, my man.